Hello there, welcome back to Bulletproof Mindset, Scotland's #1 health, fitness and entertainment podcast. Today's conversation, if you're someone who has fallen off and is struggling to get back on, then today's episode is for you. And it is also for you guys who have a tendency to be all in or all out when it comes to your health and fitness goals. Today is a really insightful informational episode on everything you can do to overcome that and stop falling off in the future. In today's episode, I run through a 30-day step-by-step guide on 6 things that you can do to get back on track. And I had a little bit of a ADHD moment on this, that I thought to myself, one of the best ways I can help you all for free is running a little 30-day challenge. So if you're interested in joining this, it's going to kick off on Monday the 27th of May. And we're going to run it for the next 30 days. These are all fairly straightforward things to do, but they're also super impactful on how we can level up our health and fitness. So if you're interested in that, check the link below in the show notes, wherever you're watching this or listening to this, or reach out to me on Instagram at Coach Crossar if you're having issues signing up. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. And we're back with another podcast episode. I hope you are having a lovely day, lovely week, lovely weekend, whenever you're tuning into this. Today's topic of conversation is going to be around how to get back on track if you've fallen off. And this has come from a question. I threw up a question box on my Instagram story. And it's one of my previous clients that I worked with. I think she ended up moving away, or various different reasons she couldn't continue with coaching. But she had asked a question around, how do you get back on track? Because she's lost all motivation. And it's not just her. And this is common with probably every single client I end up coaching, every single person that I interact with in the fitness space. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you're pretty hard on yourself, then just know it happens to us all. But I thought I would kind of explain how I've managed to minimise it with myself and how I do it with my clients, and give you guys some tips and share some insights on how to overcome that. But also kind of reframing the mind around this, because it's something that kind of pisses me off a little bit with the fitness space, and it plays into this all or nothing mindset. And if you are someone who is in the gym 5 days a week, and then you can go to another extreme where you're not working out at all and you're way off your nutrition and you're not sleeping great, yada, 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 then this kind of next part that I run through hopefully is going to help you with this. So a good example to explain what is it that we're trying to achieve with minimising the quote-unquote mess up or fuck up, whatever you want to label it as, is imagine a pendulum. So that pendulum swinging from left to right, the little, I think is it an object that's usually in offices. Now, the difference between people who have their quote unquote shit together with their health and fitness, they minimise how much that pendulum swings. And people like myself sometimes, or definitely in the past, in my early 20s, my pendulum swing would be massive. So I was the guy that was 6 days in the gym, very dialed with my nutrition. And then it got to Saturday and I'd have a cheeky wee cheat meal. And that would just throw me off the rails, and I'd swing to the other side and then stay up gaming late and all this different things. And that'd have a knock-on effect. So how do we that's what I want you to think about, is how to minimize that swing. How do we minimize the one extreme to the other? And I'm going to get into like some of my favorite kind of strategy and tips on how to do that. But first we need to ask ourselves, why is it that people fall off? And I've written down four different reasons, or 4 of the common reasons that come to mind for me. Number 1 is the goals, right? So I see this a lot with weddings, holidays, photo shoots, or whatever it was they were trying to get in shape with. Now, the goal element, it can also be weight, actually. Weight is another thing. So the goal element is really, really interesting. And I find this even with myself when it comes to business ventures, when it comes to like my relationship. So one thing that both myself and Gillian faced when we got married, we kind of hit this bit of this low moment afterwards that was like, I feel quite flat. I feel why do I feel so crappy when something so fantastic has just happened? And it's because the goal of getting married is something that we've both thought about for when we were kids. That one day we will hopefully both get married, and that day then came, and then there's this kind of dump of energy, this dopamine crash, and it's because we've achieved that goal. And it's just part and parcel of life, unfortunately. It's going to be the same with your health and fitness goals. And a lot of people, this happens when they've reached a lift, or they've done a competition, or they completed a run, a marathon, a 10K, 5K. There's so many different ways. And we all face this at one point or another. Now, another point I written down here was the structure. So structure is a massive one, and I find this a lot with clients that I've worked with in the past that I've trained, I've coached, I've got them to understand programming and all this sort of things, and they're like, right, good to go. Thanks for your help. Happy to go off on my own, which is great. They all know what they have to do. So they go away and they start. Week one looks like, okay, I'm going to do that structure that I've been training, or how I've been training for the last couple of months. Week two, it's like, I'm going to do what I feel like. Week three, it becomes a couple of days missed. And then week 4, week 5, that's them kind of falling off. So structure's a massive component to, I guess, maybe not even staying on track, but just driving towards something. You need to have a structure, and that structure can look different. And I'll come on to that in a little sec. But that structure is going to be different for so many of us. And the structure might also be with food. And I think this is what everyone has challenges with, where we're in a dieting phase, or we're restricting our calories, and we're doing so well. Something happens in life where, I don't know, let's say it's a birthday, or you're out and you can't have the same foods that you would normally have. So you maybe have a pizza, or you have a nice burger, and then that burger becomes this, like, opening the floodgates to just eating endless. And that little change of your structure can throw everything off. So that's another important one. Now, the other one I've written down here is the most crucial one that I want every single person to understand. And if you're someone that does this, then hopefully off the back of today's episodes, then you can have a different mindset towards how you speak to yourself. And most people, sadly, work out or want to work on their health and fitness because they hate themselves. They have so much hatred towards themselves. Now, why is that something that switches people off? Well, they just get tired of it, and it switches their mindset switches from, oh, I hate the way I look, I hate how fat I am, I hate how I feel when eating these foods. But you know what? I'm sick of hating myself, so I'm going to enjoy my life anyway. And it's weird that not working on your health and fitness is seen as enjoying your life. And that's another big part, or a big reason why so many people have extreme swings with this. So doing it out of hatred never works. There's a whole argument around shaming and all this sort of stuff, and I think shaming will have its place to an extent, but if you're shaming yourself and it's this constant negative outlook on, I'm not good enough, look at the state of me, instead of doing it from a place of love, like you're setting yourself up for failure. I always say that you think losing weight is going to make you happy, but you need to be happy first to successfully lose the weight forever. And that's a key component there, forever. So with this hatred towards yourself, there's then a mindset of, fuck it, like, I'm just going to go for it, I'm going to enjoy myself. And then when you're enjoying yourself for so much, you start to feel guilty, and you start to look back and go, man, I fucked that up. Now, whether you fell off because your goals, your structure, how you speak to yourself, every single person goes through this frame of mind, which is, what a waste of time that was. I fucked up, I messed up. And they're two of the most common phrases that I hear from so many people. And I've even said it myself, and I still catch myself saying it to this day. But thankfully, the goal here isn't to go from not great to perfect. It's to go from good to gooder. It's to go from where you're at to that little bit better and minimise the pendulum swing. So I still swing from one end to the other end, but minimising that swing allows me to kind of get back on track a lot easier. So first thing is the wasting time element. Unless you're doing a show, a physique show, what are you wasting time for? Like, why is there a deadline? There's generally no such thing as a deadline when it comes to your health and fitness. I don't care if it's you want to lose weight, if it's for a wedding, if it's for a photo shoot. Is that all it is going to be for? Are you quite happy to gain all that weight back on and not feel great after the photo shoot, after the wedding, after your holiday? And the short answer is no. So stop putting so much pressure on ourselves to achieve this result in a specific time frame. And you'll see this from like this, it's sexy marketing, 8-week transformations, 8-week challenges, 12-week peak, or whatever it is that you're signed up to doing. And that's to kind of keep you in that structure for 12 weeks. And yes, there's an element in those programs where you're trying to win something, it's a goal, but ultimately it's not a physique show. You're not doing this to like win trophies or get sponsorships. You're doing it to become a healthier, stronger, more aesthetic version of yourself, I would imagine. So why is there so much pressure with this goal? Why is there so much pressure with this time frame? And as long as you're showing up for yourself on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, then look, you're moving in the right direction. It beats not doing it at all. So the waste of time argument, yeah, like there's no such thing. Chill out, relax. And also this other one, and I love this. This was from Jordan Syatt, and it was, what was the book? I can't remember the book. I'll link it and I'll credit it in the show notes. But all of us have this element of, I fucked up, I've messed up, I fucked that, fucked my progress, whatever it is. And there's no such thing. There generally isn't any way you can mess this up. In fact, to tell a lie, there's only one way that you can fuck this up. And are you ready for it? And that's if you give up completely. If you stop all your commitments towards become a healthier, stronger version of yourself, then yes, you have fucked up. But see if you get back on the wagon. Doesn't matter where you're starting from or where you were at, as long as you are showing up for yourself again, then guess what? You're working on your health and fitness. And it's something that we don't really think about, right? This is why the marketing side of the fitness industry is really, really interesting, of what we go after. 30-day challenges, 8-week challenges, 12-week challenges, photo shoot challenges, get in shape for holiday, yada, yada, yada. And it kind of pushes away to think about, actually, what will I do after that date? And that comes back to the goals. It's one of the most common reasons people have this kind of dump of energy at the end of something. And it's because the goal is gone. And a successful journey for most people will have multiple goals leading up to that goal, and then more goals as you go by it. That was a bit of a tongue twister to say. So there are some of the reasons why people fall off, and what I'm going to go into is a nice tangible 30-day step-by-step guide on what you can do to getting back onto it. But before we go into that, I think a very pressing matter to address here is that I was going to say the circle of life. It's not the circle of life, it's just life in general is going to find a way to throw those shit curveballs your way. There's going to be some sad things, some sad shit that happens, right? There's going to be some highly stressful events, whether that's your partner, and I know I certainly give that to Jillian, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, something not so great is going to happen, maybe on a regular basis, for in your whole journey of life. And usually when that stress hits, that's when it can affect the health and fitness goals. It's when it can trigger maybe some deeply rooted trauma that triggers you to have a binge or eat more food. But ultimately, to be successful on this journey of health and fitness, your ability to adapt and modify certain situations is honestly what separates people who do well and people who quote unquote don't do so well. Their ability to modify their sessions or modify their lifestyle to fit whatever stress is going on is really what separates them. And an example would be, let's say I'm training 4 or 5 days a week. Then, in fact, I'll give you an example of what actually happened to me and when I was working in a gym, and then I got this place. So working in a gym, and I was in the gym 6 days a week, and I had this little block throughout the day where I would train and was consistently training 6 days a week. I had a training program. I had a goal of being like jacked and lean and all this sort of stuff, and wanted to feel strong. So I was trying to push my numbers on the deadlift and my squat, and I was working towards that. And I had an idea in my mind that I would sign up to a powerlifting competition in about February. So back in September, this was, I got offered this place, and I was like, right, okay, I'm going to go for it. And all through that process, the stress of coming over and visiting the place, figuring out what colour am I going to paint the walls, what equipment am I going to get, how am I going to get, what's the floor going to look like, all those decision makings and those little micro stresses throughout the day, I started to find my training went from 5-6 days a week to 0. And I knew that 0 workouts wasn't making me feel my best. I knew the power of lifting weights and what that can do for my mental clarity, for my stress management, for just my joints, my overall body, how it feels. So I switched up my program to a 2-day-a-week split, and I figured, if I can't work out 6 days a week, can I work out 2? And see, if I'm being honest with you, I managed to get 2 on average for the majority of the time, but there was some weeks where I only trained once. And that frame of mind, or being able to pivot and change my outlook and my goal, because the more pressing matter was, wow, I've got a really great opportunity to set up my own studio. So I didn't want, that was the main driver in my life at the time. So with that being said, it doesn't mean that your quote unquote health and fitness goals need to take a back seat. It just means they have to be changed, they have to be modified, and that's exactly what I done. And look, don't get me wrong, there's some weeks where I still I done 0 workouts, but knowing that I only had to get 1 or 2 workouts in that following week to kind of make me feel great and do this full body type of training, then that's where, personally, and feedback from my clients that I've found, is the best approach to that. So your ability to modify and adapt to life stresses. Like if you're going to become a new parent, right, you ain't going to be in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. If you are, then like all power to you. But I'd imagine the sleepless nights and the stress of trying to raise a newborn baby is going to be one of the most challenging things life is going to throw at you. On the flip side of that, if you are trying to get a promotion in work, and this has actually happened with some clients. We actually trained some people in the group sessions where they were like, I can't go to the gym on that day because I need to study for my interview that I've got on Friday. And it was like, right, forget the workouts. How do you feel when you're working out? It's like, yeah, I do feel good, but I can't go to the gym 3 days in a row. I need to put my time and energy into that. And it's like, right, why don't you do like a in the house like mobility session on the hour for a couple of minutes? And it's like, yeah, that actually sounds quite good. Feedback from that client, I feel great. I don't feel like I was a failure. So, and that's the hard part, is how you speak to yourself through this whole process as well. So your ability to adapt and overcome and find balance in the stressful situations that life throws at us is the key part. And just because it's weird, because every single one of you guys listening to this, I would imagine, are basing this around how much weight you're holding or how you look. And just because you have an extra 2% body fat, does that mean you're unhealthier or not as fit than someone else? No. There may be an argument there for it, but if that allows you to strengthen your relationship or put your time and energy into your family, into your friends, into your work, into your career, get more, financial gains instead of like physical gains, then that's a win. And that's where there's a range. It's not just a set number. There's no set number in terms of, if you achieve this number, you are fit, you are healthy. There's a range for everyone, and everyone's range is going to look a little bit different. And the comparison is definitely the thief of joy. And this is why when you're looking at social media and everyone's running just now, and you're like, oh man, I kind of want to run, but I could never do a 10K, right? What about a 1K? Oh no, but that's nothing. It's like, well, are you doing a 1K just now? No, I'm not. Right, why don't we start there and let's build up some reps towards that? We all write ourselves off because of what we see others do, and it's sad that we do that. But off the back of today's episode, we are not doing that anymore. I have your back. So let's get into my favourite tips to run through this, right? And I actually think, I know I wasn't slagging, but I was saying that it's funny how we market these 30-day challenges. Just had an idea on the podcast. Let's do it. If you're listening to this episode on the point of release, the following Monday, so this episode is out tomorrow on Thursday. Monday is let me get it up. James, go fill the conference. Oh wait, James isn't here. The Monday the 27th. In fact, it makes sense if we do it for the whole month of June. Yeah, fuck it. You know what? We'll kick it off in next week. And for the whole month of June, if you're someone that has these extreme swings on their pendulum of one extreme to the other when it comes to the health and fitness, let's do a 30-day challenge together where we'll run through the points that I'm about to list off, and I will do it with you guys, because if I'm being honest, coming off the back of a 2-week holiday in Los Angeles and Vegas and San Francisco, I don't really know what I'm doing with myself. James leaving me that's kind of hit hard as well. I've got various things going on with my business life, but as I said just a few minutes ago, the power of working out, what it can do in terms of your ability to manage stress and feel good, it's unquestionable. Why would we not want to do that? And sometimes it's just getting over that first hurdle. So let me run through what I believe is the best strategy on a step-by-step guide basis. So over the next 30 days, I want you to try and not try, is doing your damned best to cover off each one of these. There is 6 different ones, and I'll probably throw in a few bonus ones if you stick to the end. So the first one we're going to go over is movement. Every single day we need to find ways to move our body, and a non-negotiable with this one is a minimum of 7,000 steps. Now, there's going to be some very lucky people, and I say lucky because I know it's not really lucky, but your job is maybe a little bit more active, so those 7,000 steps are pretty easy to hit. But I would guarantee if you're someone who falls on that side of the fence, when it gets to the weekend, you probably don't hit 7,000 steps. So every single day, non-negotiable, getting outdoors, 7,000 steps. However you do it is entirely up to you. Run it if you want to run it, but as I said, if you don't like running or don't want to run, then there's no need to do that. That's the non-negotiable, and the best strategy for this is breaking it up. Now, 7,000 steps is roughly, I want to say, what's that, about 50 minutes-ish, 45, 50 minutes, depending on the speed that you walk. So if you look at that in terms of time, can you get outdoors for 3 20-minute sessions throughout the day? If the answer is no, then cool. Can you do one in the morning, one at night? It's up to you to decide how you want to split that up. Now, I know what works for majority of people, and that is starting the day with a morning walk. It's something I'm really trying to do just now, but again, I'm kind of losing my motivation. So if I run this little challenge, we all need to do it together. We encourage each other, we inspire each other, and that's going to make us win together. And that's actually a bonus point I've never actually written down in here. Find ways to have someone else hold you accountable. It could be a friend, it could be a bet where every time you miss one of these, you give £1, right? So have a bet with your friend. If you are both people who have maybe fallen off, then follow this structure, and every time one of you's miss, you owe the other one £1. There's no better motivator like money. And I'm going to do a future episode back on motivation again, but motivation's funny because it's like, how do I get motivated? How do I get more discipline? And you go, do you like your job? It's like, no, I hate my job. Right, okay. Do you ever not go to work? Only when I'm sick. Right. So how do we get that power? How do we tap into that power? Same with brushing your teeth. Do you brush your teeth every day? Yeah. Why? Oh, because you need to, right? How do we get that thought process and apply it to your health and fitness goals or whatever habits it is? So yeah, back to this movement. Now, one thing I actually think I'm going to do more of is the nighttime walking. I think there's something so powerful about walking at night, no headphones, not listening to anything, and just kind of winding down from the day. And yeah, I think for the handful of times that I've done this over the last couple of months, it's certainly been a really great exercise to do. My work schedule is all over the place, and if I was back in my corporate days where I worked Monday to Friday and finished at the same time, after my dinner I would do a nighttime walk, and this was really great, helped the digestion of my food and just helped me kind of feel good, because I was, as I said, I was sat behind the desk all day, and moving my body helps. So play about with what works for you. 7,000 steps, 50-ish minutes of walking every single day for 30 days in a row. That is the goal with the first pillar. Okay, on to the next one, nutrition. Nutrition is, everybody else says it's the hardest one. There's no harder one here. They're all pretty hard to do, but nutrition is one that everyone easily falls off of. Food is a drug, believe it or not. Weirdly enough, we know there's foods out there that once we have them, we're going to feel crappy afterwards. Yet our brain, the chemistry in our brain goes, nah, fuck that feeling, eat it anyway, because we love the taste of how that feels in our mouth. And it's so weird when you break that, when you really think about that, you know that you're going to feel crap after eating that food, yet the taste of how it feels in your mouth overrides that decision and you eat it anyway. Fascinating. Very, very fascinating. And there's way more to that. But to break this down simply, there's two things I want you to do when it comes to your nutrition. I want you to try your best and 80% of the time have the same foods, okay? The same foods would look like however that is in your world. If you don't eat breakfast, don't eat breakfast. But try and map out Monday to Sunday, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, what I would say is if you're someone who has dinner with your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, family, leave the dinner one out and just let that become a social occasion where it maybe changes from day to day. Most people sit down and eat dinner with their partner or their family, so use that as that's the beacon of the social part, right? Leave that open-ended, but breakfast and lunch, or meal 1, meal 2, have a structure to what that looks like, and have the same foods for the next 30 days in a row. Now, you might be thinking, I don't even know what foods to have, Dale. Well, here's the rules with it. Or I'm not going to say rules, because that again might be a trigger for some people, but the structure that I want you to have with meal 1 and meal 2 is having it based around some sort of protein, okay? Now, I was going to write down like grams of protein. So everyone's heard that if you're tracking your food, you want roughly 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, or ideal body weight. So if you're trying to get to 100 kilos, 200 grams of protein is what you have to get every single day. I actually find that step can be extremely difficult for a lot of people. And my perspective has kind of changed a little bit just by dealing with everyday people in my coaching. Some people are only getting 60 grams. And for me to try and get them to eat 140 grams more, it's been quite a struggle for them, honestly. So we shifted to like measurements, like sizes of elements. So when it comes to the meat-based thing that you're adding to your plate, try a fistful of meat. 2 fistful of meat, and that more or less is going to give you 30-ish to 40 grams of protein. Now, that doesn't quite work when it's like eggs or bacon and things like that. So it's not like a clean cut, but that's another way of thinking about it. But meal 1 and meal 2 have some sort of high protein dish that's within that. That can be Greek yogurt, it can be eggs, it can be bacon, it can be chicken, and whatever it is. It could be a powder as well, but whatever you're choosing to do, you're going to stick with that for the next 30 days. The other part of this is going to be around fruits. So you're going to have 1 piece of fruit with your breakfast meal and 1 piece of fruit with your lunch meal. Simple as that. And the thought process behind this is to increase your fibre intake. Digestion is a big part of how we feel. The bloat, the kind of sagginess that sits within our gut. And there's no better way of making your gut feel better than trying to increase your fibre intake. So 2 pieces of fruit, at least 2 pieces of fruit. Now, you might pick a lunch meal or a breakfast meal that is like Greek yogurt with berries, then yeah, that's your fruit element. But I would try and think of the fruit. In fact, no, I'll not overcomplicate it. We'll leave it at that, right? We're keeping this simple, keeping it structured. Okay, the next point is you will not weigh yourself at all through this process. Maybe what do you mean? What's that got to do with anything? Well, a lot of you guys are going to be jumping on the scales consistently over the past couple of months, and you're working out and you're doing this thing for your health and fitness. You jump on the scales, and because a number didn't move in the direction that you wanted it to move, you then write everything off. You go back to this pendulum swing. You're like, oh, fuck it, what's the point? I feel shit. And it goes so extreme to the other way. So you have the cookies, the crisps, the sweets, chocolate, whatever it is that you have. And it's mad. It's a couple of numbers on a digital screen, and it has so much power over your life. So do not weigh yourselves, hide them, chuck them in the bin. Don't chuck them in the bin, they can be expensive. Get someone to hide them so you don't have that urge to weigh yourself, because the goal isn't to lose weight here. The goal is to feel better in yourself, get you back on track, get you some sort of structure, and get you feeling like you're working on being healthier, stronger, and better. Okay, another one that I guess falls under the category of nutrition is water intake. 3 litres of water every single day. Two things to this. You might think, oh man, I honestly can't pee that much. Your body will adapt to that, and if it doesn't adapt, then what I want you to do with this is get some electrolytes in your diet. And this can come from like foods, but the best way to do this is if you're increasing your protein intake and having various types of protein sources, you should be okay. But a nice easy fix for this is a pinch of pink Himalayan salt. Don't put it in the water, it tastes minging. Just put it in your hand, put it in your mouth, gub some water with it, and that should stop the need to pee so often. Putting this simply, it's a breakdown of how your body's utilising the water. We're trying to hydrate yourself, and just by drinking water, just plain old water, if you don't have enough electrolytes in your system, your body's not going to absorb that water and actually properly hydrate yourself. And a few clients have actually said this to me, like, I'm drinking so much water, but I still feel so dehydrated. And by doing this little remedy, boom, no more headaches, no more cramps, and better hydration levels. They're the 3 main pillars for why we want to increase your water intake. So 3 litres of water every day. In fact, let's just change this. 3 litres of water every day and a pinch of pink Himalayan salt with at least 1 glass of water. Okay? Right, let's get into the workout side of things. So, look, there's no question about it. We need to be adding in some form of resistance training. And if you choose to work with me as a client, then my advice would be more specific towards the stresses that you have in your lifestyle. So I'm going to keep this on quite generic. And the workout structure that I'm going to run through, there's going to be a link below this. Well, there's going to be 2 links. There's going to be a link below to the Facebook group where we can all try this 30-day challenge together. But there'll be another link where I'm going to share the actual structure of the workout that I want you to follow for the next 30 days. Whether you are a seasoned veteran, you are an ex-bodybuilder, you feel you are above all else, you're above average when it comes to lifting weights, I do not care. I want you to work out twice a week, okay? And I want you to try a full body split. And if you've not tried a full body split, then you are in for a ride of your life. You're going to get stronger, more muscle or more muscle density. You're going to feel fuller. You're going to feel better by doing less work, because I was exactly like you, where I was working out 6 days a week. And when I made this switch to the 2 days a week, my whole stress management, my whole balance of lifestyle just was flipped upside down. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to lose gains working out less often. Nah, it was the opposite. I got stronger. It was my chest that I noticed more than anything. I seen my chest grow from like two chest exercises a week. It was insane. So I want you to follow a full body structure. Essentially, breaking this down is all dumbbell exercises. I'll say that again. It's all dumbbell exercises. And we're focusing on compound movements from a movement pattern basis. So this is like everything that our body does. We stand up, we sit down, we bend over, we pull towards, we push away, push above head. Don't worry, the breakdown of what I want you to do is going to be in the link below. Just click on that. It's going to be a wee simple PDF. Screenshot it, and that's what I want you to follow. This workout is maybe going to take like 45-ish minutes. It's going to be 2 sets, and we're going to be working between 8 and 15 reps. So quite a big rep range. So there's going to be some things to consider when you're working through that. But if this is the first time that you're going to be working out in a number of weeks, months, maybe even years, then the key part with this is picking a weight that is so stupidly light and continuing with that weight. You might be thinking, well, what's the point? every single person always overdoes it when they come back to that first session. Even to this day, 16 years of training, I'll still do it because I'm fine. I can just Billy Big Bollocks and I can get stuck into it. No, it doesn't work. I wake up in agony the next day, and guess what? I can't hit my 7,000 steps the next day because I've blasted my legs. It just ain't a fun experience. Less is more. More isn't less. So picking a silly weight, once you hit the top range of that rep range, so if in this example it's going to be between 8 and 15, once you hit it once, increase to the next weight. So let's say I pick a 5 kilo dumbbell, we do an exercise called goblet squats, I hit 15 goblet squats at 5 kilos. The next time I do that set, guess what I'm doing? I'm moving up to the next weight, 6 kilos or 7, whatever it is it jumps up to. And that's how you're going to continue your workout program for the next 30 days. The other side of the workout side of things is going to be before I come on to that, when you're tracking your workouts, this is important. Track your numbers as best you can. You can, I tell you what, in the PDF that I'm totally winging like what I'm doing off the back of this episode. I did have a lot of structure going into the episode, but as I'm talking, I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll have a little calendar that you can fill out if you like writing it down, print it off, or download it onto your phone and just type in your notes. But find a way where you can, every weight that you do. In fact, I tell you what, this is my brain. You thought James had ADHD. Well, I guess it's rubbed off on me. I'm going to import. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to onboard every single person that wants to try this 30-day challenge. I'm going to bring you into the app that I use, and I'm going to create the workouts for you so you can log them with ease and you can get a feel for the experience of what it's like to work with me. Now, there'll be no sort of hidden fees or anything like that. I just want to see how many people we can help together over the next 30 days. So if you don't want to do that, then simply write it in your notes. Find a way to track it, essentially was what I was going to say in that point. But there is now a better way to track it because you're going to come on board with me. The next one, the last one. So this is the last thing to consider. Every single day and every single night, you're going to do a 2-minute mobility routine. Now, mobility can be classed as stretching. And again, I'll leave this open-ended. You can follow your favourite fitness influencer's stretch routine. You can type in YouTube. My neck feels a bit tight, so I'm going to type in neck stretches and pick 1 or 2 stretches that you're going to do for 2 whole minutes. So, for example, like neck circles where you're imagining a pencil on the top of your head and you're just creating a big wide circle with that. 1 minute, one direction, 1 minute, the next direction, done. Now, I try and pick 2 different exercises or pick 4 different exercises and do them for 30 seconds. But 2 minutes, the start of the day and the end of the day, that's just going to trigger this response of you're doing something for you. You're doing something because I don't know, depends how stressful your day's been, but it's kind of it's bringing you from all these various thoughts that you're having throughout the day to homing in on, right, I'm focusing on me, I'm moving in this direction, I'm thinking about my neck going here or my arm moving into this position, and it keeps you present and it sets you up for a pretty good nighttime of sleep. Or in the morning, it sets you up for, you know what, I'm ready to get on with this day. So that is step 6. So 6 steps on how to get back on track with your health and fitness goals. So let's cover off some questions that may come off the back of this. I said earlier on, the people who are going to be more successful on their health and fitness journey than others is those that have the ability to modify and adapt whatever situations is going on in life. Now, that's going to be the case for you guys following this. I said 7,000 steps earlier on. Now, some of you might have been like, that is easy peasy. But do you know when it's not easy? Let's say you've got a conference you have to travel to, trains, buses, flights. The time you get to your hotel is 8, 9 at night. You've not ate, you've not hit your food. That's when it's going to become more difficult. So your ability to modify and draw a line in the sand and say, right, today wasn't your best day, but tomorrow can be. Look forward, never look back, but we spend so much time looking at what shoulda, woulda, could have happened instead of thinking, you know what, I'm going to make tomorrow count, or I'm going to make this next meal count. I'm going to make sure that I get out tonight. I never got out this morning. There's so many different ways that you can chop this up and make this individualized and specialized towards yourself. And that's really what it's all about. So it's crucial takeaway for you is nothing ever stays the same. We will have moments in our life that you could probably look back on and go, man, I had so much time there. Why didn't I maximize that time? And I actually think back to like when we were living in England and we had an abundance of time, and I worked out, but I was like, man, life was pretty easy then. And I remember coming home from work going, oh man, I'm stressed, I'm this, I'm that. Life's going to have its ways of evolving you through its mad realm. I don't even know what I'm trying to say there, but you'll have times where you look back and you know for a fact how you spoke to yourself. You said, you're fat, or you're fucking up your fitness, or you're doing X, Y, and Z. You're not being great to yourself, or whatever it may be. And you can compare where you're at now and go, actually, you were doing pretty well then. Everybody's got that picture that they know, that they look at, and at the time they're like, I don't feel so great in how I look. And you look at it now and you're like, wow, I actually looked all right then. I look better than all right. Well, that's the funny thing about life. And yes, as we get older, things start becoming more challenging. Some things start to slow down, but there is ways to come around it. And trying to modify where you're at, as I said, is going to be the best thing for you. Now, look, after these 30 days, what do you do? The best thing I can encourage every single person to do is follow some sort of structure, follow some sort of programming. Look, there's nothing wrong with following your own program, but we're all guilty of being human beings. You might know what's best for you. You might have good intuition of which exercises to do. You might be pretty disciplined, but outsourcing your programming is one of the best things that you can do. I outsource mine. Every single coach in the coaching space, I feel, has some sort of coach that they work with. I'm not saying you need to have a coach to work with. If you do, then look, you're off to a flyer, but ultimately you want to have some sort of structure that you don't have any emotional part to play in. And when I've done my programming in the past, I'm extremely self-aware and feel I have pretty good intuition, but I would then have arguments with myself, and because when I went to do front squats with like walking lunges, I'd convince myself in my head, it's like, you don't need to do walking lunges today. You get what I mean? So find ways to outsource your programming. If you're someone that is looking for a program and a structure to follow, then I've created a 6-month structured program, and it works out at like £17 a week. So fair, like reasonably cheap. You get access to the app, a way to track your workouts, sets, reps, exercises, everything's taken care of. All you need to do is follow it. And guess what? It can also be modified as well. So if you are someone who can't do certain exercises because of X, Y, and Z, then you have the ability to change it. And that also influence the type of exercises that you can do on that. So if that's something you're interested in, the link below will be there. But ultimately, you can find so many different programs out there. Mine's is obviously up there with top tier stuff, but I'll leave it in your capable hands to make that decision. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope that's gave you some newfound perspective on how to get back on track, and more so how to stop falling off track in future. The number one thing to reframe your mind on is you will never mess this up as long as you stay on track. On track may be 5,000 steps. On track may be 15,000 steps. It's going to change, and it's going to change with the life stresses that comes along with that. Now, before you go, look, one thing, if you do enjoy this, or if you did enjoy this episode and you stuck around to the end, I want to thank you very much. Remember, the links below is going to be there for the group challenge. If you want to come along with us for the next 30 days, then click that link below. And if you did enjoy today's episode, let me know. Share it on social media. That is the best way you can support us. If you've already left a review, I love you. Thank you very much. And I'll see you on the next one.